this is really going to be a combination overview webinar here, right? We're basically covering off leveraging AI in construction, right? So there's a ton of stuff going on in the world at the moment with AI, ChatGPT. Everyone's heard of it in the news. Maybe some of you have used it, some of you haven't. So I thought I'd jump in here and just do an overview of some of the ways that you can use it specifically in construction for various topics from sales, marketing, operations, HR. Really, the only limitation is your imagination. And it is unbelievable how much power this sort of stuff holds when you start using it regularly, okay? So can everybody see my screen? Can we get a show of hands if you can see the beautiful picture of my face? I love it. Awesome. Okay. So why listening to me? Well, just, I know a few of you guys know me already. There's going to be a recording of this, which will go out here. But I was working as in a business coaching business for home builders over the last 6 years. Got to know the industry very, very well. I'm actually an engineer by trade, used to build super yachts. And basically, very much a problem solver is my core superpower. So along with all that came with marketing and systems and automation and all that kind of stuff. But one of my things that I was always pretty bad at was I'm not a natural writer, okay? And I'm not a natural creative either. So there's two types of people in the world. There's creatives and there's sort of analytical people. I'm more of that analytical side of things and I always struggle with the creative side. So when I started using this, probably 6 months to a year ago when it first came out, started getting into it, started getting to know it a bit more and use it a bit more on the day-to-day. And it was honestly like I now had a wheelchair or a something similar in that analogy to help me with the creative side of things, with writing emails, with writing, Facebook ads. And then it started expanding upon that into certain other things like operational checklists and that. And so it's been a really helpful tool. And I wanted to cover off some of that there. So bit of housekeeping, all right? These are now my unbranded slides because, I don't really work from slides. I like to be interactive and make this stuff work as easy as possible. So I will share a real life examples that I've been through and want you guys to interact as much as possible at the same time, okay? This is not just me going to be talking about myself or anything that we're doing. It's more about you guys and shaping it to how you want to use it, with me giving you some prompts on how you can use it. So just a bit of housekeeping here. Want to make sure that everybody's paying attention. I know Rob's got his, just saw the espresso getting sorted there. So he's all done, right? Okay, everyone's got their coffee. Everyone's got maybe a notepad. Take some notes. Get involved. Everybody knows where the meeting chat is. If you hover over the screen, should be a set of buttons for mute, unmute, and a little box there for chat. So if you can get engaged in the chat, I really want to hear more about what you guys are up to and how you're using it and things like that. I want you to get involved throughout the process, okay? We might unmute you guys and get you to share as well. But yeah, don't be shy. This is not about me just talking the whole time, okay? So also want you to be present, right? So switch off your devices, switch off your emails. If something burns down over the next hour, it's going to be a very, very small chance of that. Doesn't matter. That's what your project manager's for, right? Or maybe your office admin can do that. Unfortunately, we can't stop that with AI, not yet anyway, but just want you guys to be present and take it in as much as possible, because by doing some of the stuff that we're going to cover off today, it'll do one of two things. It will either shave 20 hours out of your week, okay, in admin, in follow-ups, and all of those things that you hate doing, or it's going to save you somewhere in the realm of $60,000 to $150,000 a year in hiring different team members or different firms for helping you with things, okay? So we're going to cover off stuff around health and safety, okay? We're going to cover off stuff around business systemization. We're going to cover off some stuff around marketing, okay? And so if you really take it in and really get involved in this, it can be really beneficial in multiple different ways, okay? So we just want you to tune in, be present. And lastly, just have an open mind, okay? So let me just get a show of hands or even chuck it in the chat. Give us a 1 if you have played around with any AI, ChatGPT, any of this stuff before. Love to see based off who's here. Got a few people chucking 1s in. Cool. Nice. Lisa, Peter, Joe, Eli, Glenn. Awesome. Nice. Okay, guys. So it's a mainstream thing now, okay? And the amount that has been on the news, the amount of adoption that this has had over the last, 3 to 6 months has been huge. Cool. And basically, you guys are the ones that have been involved in this, the ones that are attending today's workshop. You've still got to remember that the general population hasn't touched this yet. Okay, so you are still in front of all that, and you are at the leading edge of it. So it's good to make use of it while you can. And when you do this, you can. It's like the internet age, or like the gold rush times. Those who are early to adopt it get big advantages from it. Okay, and then once it catches up to the masses, then it may become less and less effective. Okay, so love that you guys have been involved in it. Just a follow-up question to that. Can you chuck in the chat box 1 or 2 things that you've done with ChatGPT or AI before? I know super common would be maybe some social media stuff, maybe some, replying to emails. I'm not quite sure, but I'd love to hear just 1 or 2 things that maybe you've tried before. Awesome. Emails, letters, emailed a grumpy client about delays. I love that. It's one of my favorite ways to use it. Blog content, great. Instagram posts, awesome. Ad campaigns, policy, cool. Social media, email response, awesome, cool. So you notice that most of the way that people are using this is in a very transactional way, right? Like social media, email responses, all that kind of stuff is very text-based, very simple type of ways to use it. I'm going to share my screen in a minute, and I'm going to show you something that is already out at the moment, which I think you'll find very interesting. I'll do that in just a minute, but the way that everybody has used it and everybody's talking about it is just the very fractional tip of the iceberg. There's already a lot of different ways that people can use this in a much more advanced ways. There's automations, there's scripts, there's all sorts of smart stuff out there that's leveraging this technology. So just some of the stuff we're going to cover off today expands the horizon a little bit, and we're definitely not going to go deep on anything too technical, but really, like I say, your imagination is really key on how you can use this. So covered off that one. And before I just keep going on this, do you have anything specific that you want to get out of this, that you want to cover off, or that you've thought about doing before? Is probably my final question before we jump into things. Love to get lots of feedback on that, and how you want to use it, anything you've thought of using it for. And if we have time at the end, maybe we can cover off some ad hoc topics on that, and I can show you different ways of approaching it. So give you just a minute to do that. Awesome. Just taking off the training wheels. Awesome. I like it. Anybody else? Anybody else got any big ways that want to do anything with it? Curate content. Awesome. Amazing. Popular searches, creating an effective response. Perfect. Add a virtual assistant for CRM and emails campaign. Awesome. Social media, automation. Cool. Okay. Company specific SOPs. Love it. Okay. So we're going to cover off all of that. Okay, so we've got a good agenda here that I'm looking to cover off. If anything pops up, write it down on a bit of paper, chuck it in the chat. We'll be making sure that we cover that off. Like I say, this is interactive, and I want to make sure that it is as interactive as possible. So the first thing when it comes to leveraging all of this technology, okay, the first thing is practice, right? If, like anything in life, you don't practice using it ongoing, you'll never get the hang of it, and you'll never get the benefit of it, and you'll give up and you'll go, oh, this is too hard. Okay. I still struggle in some things that I'm working on with it to get the right response from it. Okay. So it's a learning curve. It's just like anything else. You need to stick with it. You need to practice. One of the first things that I do when I come to my computer in the morning, apart from having my cappuccino, is I open up a couple of tabs on my computer. And one of those things is ChatGPT, right? Or a version of that. Okay. Now, the reason for that is the more that you use it, the more it becomes like a habit, but like a muscle memory. And every single time that I come across a challenge, automatically I go, oh man, I could have solved this problem an hour ago with AI or with ChatGPT. Okay. So it has really sped up the process, but it really takes practice. It takes using it, takes working on it. Okay, so you really need to stick with it, and you need to make sure that, you know, maybe there's a way you can bookmark it so that your homepage, or when you open up your computer in the mornings, it comes up with that. It's really is that that much practice required just to keep going and sticking with it. Okay. The second thing you want to do is create a library. So there's a lot of ways that you can shape and mold this, and you might have heard the word prompt or prompt engineering. Now, the thing with AI, it's not actually AI. It's called an LLM, or a large language model. Basically, what they've done is they've scraped everything on the internet since its inception up until the latest update was about September this year, which is going to go live this month. Previously, it was about 2 or 3 years outdated. So they basically scraped all the internet for that information, and they have got this big data source, okay? And then all it is a computer in the middle picking and pulling together certain answers and certain data points that it's scraped, okay? So it's just like the world's largest brain at the moment in an organized manner. So when you do this, and when you come up with great prompts, which I'll talk about in a minute, you need to save those for later, okay? So whether that's in an Excel sheet, whether, you know, you save them wherever else you want, the whole thing that drives this is prompting, okay? Now, easiest way I can explain this is, how many of you guys have an apprentice or have worked with an apprentice before, or have kids, right? Awesome, great. Now, I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and it's amazing how many times I have to remind my kids, not tell them, remind them the right way to do things and help shape and mold what they're doing on a daily basis. The apprentice, right? They need a lot of cattle prodding, right? To do the right thing, you have to remind them of certain things. You have to prompt them, okay, to remember to tidy up once they're done, to remember to, you know, finish this piece off, to do that, to do this, okay? So when you're working with this process as well, you need to approach it like it's a trainee, like it's an apprentice, okay, or like it's one of the kids, and you need to work with it back and forwards. You're never going to get something straight off the bat that's perfect. And it actually works better if you can chain these things together in a way that you go back and forwards in like a dialogue or a conversation, okay? It works really, really well. But the great way, and the way that this has actually been adopted big time, so this whole process in AI and everything's been around for years, okay? There's a video done about 5 years ago with Will Smith talking to the same technology through a robot. But it's been around a long time. The reason why it's now taken off is because it's in a chat interface. You can ask it simple questions and go back and forwards like a conversation. So it works really well, and that's the way you need to approach it. Okay. And when you get the right prompts or the right things that you've asked, save it. Okay. And then you can come back to it later. So it might be something around the social media posts. If you can create 30 of them in one go using a certain prompt with the right bit of information in it, you can then save that and rerun the same thing next month. Okay. And so it just allows you to save the good bits across how you're using this, right? All with me so far? Thumbs up. Cool. I like it. And the last one's just making it a habit. Already kind of touched on that around, you know, having it open at all times. There's a phone app, right? If you really want to get technical, you can actually talk two-way with it with a voice assistant now embedded in it. One thing is that you do need to have an account to get the most benefits out of it. It's free to create a basic version, but the more advanced version, it's something like $20 or $40 a month. It's nothing. And it just opens up a few more features and a few more smarts to it, okay? So when you've got it on your phone, when you've got it on your computer, bookmarked, make it a habit, keep using it, okay? So prompting, right? The effective way to prompt the system, or the effective way to work with the system, is giving it detailed information. The same way you would get a good solution or an answer from a sub-trade, from an apprentice, from anyone really, okay? You can say to your office manager, go and do the invoicing. And they'll go, okay. And if they come back and do a bad job, that's because you didn't give them clear instructions, okay? Same principle applies, right? I had an apprentice that was same year as me. We used to build super yachts. He had to go and make 20 brackets, okay? And he came back and been about 5 hours later, the tradesman goes, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm just, routering the edges, smoothing them all off, all that kind of stuff. And he goes, those brackets are going to be in the ceiling. No one's ever going to see them. Okay. Now, it was a waste of time on his behalf, but really it was bad instruction from the tradesman who said, go and make some brackets instead of go and make some brackets, be quick and easy with them because they're going in the ceiling, okay, which will be covered up. So working with them here, giving them a lot of instructions. So some of the stuff we want to look at is like, I am a, or I am this, or my business is this, okay? I will X, Y, Z. You want to act as a lawyer, an HR consultant, a marketing expert. So you need to kind of prompt it as to what the goal or the personality they need to adapt. You will X, you will write social media posts. You will, provide a checklist for my systems, okay? Do X, Y, Z, do not X, Y, Z, okay? My first request is X, right? This will make a lot more sense when I show you some examples in just a second, but we want to give clear instructions, okay? Now, this is what I mean, basically. Shit in is shit out, okay? So if you tell it, write me social media posts, it's going to come back to you and it's probably going to have a good go at it. And to be fair, it won't do a bad job, but it'll be nothing to do with your business, your personality, the type of work you do, where you're located, etc. So instead of writing that, give it some more context, give it some clear instructions. Your task is to help me write 30 SEO optimized social media posts for the following business in English, right? It can do Spanish, it can do Chinese, it can change it, whatever you like. Each post should contain at least 5 keywords, yada, 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 right? You can see the amount of detail that is in this prompt or this instruction compared to the one above it, okay? So this is probably where a lot of people go wrong. Now, the model has got smarter and smarter and smarter over the last couple of months, right? I think there's some stats on it that show the latest version of ChatGPT can outperform the legal bar test, okay, which is what they sit in America. Once they do all of their legal examinations, they then go and have to sit the bar, and it can pass that at a higher rate than most students, okay? It is an incredibly intelligent platform because of all the data points, but the same thing, needs good instructions, right? So give me one in the chat if that makes sense as far as the instructions that you're giving it, that you need to be clear in what you're asking from it, okay? Come on, don't leave me hanging. Throw me some ones. All right, awesome. Glenn, Dougal, Lisa, awesome. I like it. Cool. So what we're going to cover off here, going to make it as short and sweet as possible. All right. Like I say, if anything comes to mind, if you have any questions, chuck them in the chat. We'll get into it. We're not going to go too deep on it. We're going to cover off hopefully the most helpful things here. Open up your mind as far as what you can do with the software and what you can do with the solution. So some of the things we're going to do: removing yourself from email. Okay. Contracts, legal stuff, job descriptions, hiring, scorecards, etc. Right? Info, right? Building codes, materials, finding vendors, all that sort of stuff. Okay. How to write ads. Okay. Crafting systems and checklists. How to stay on the top of safety and health and safety, right? And writing social media posts, which was a big one for a lot of people. So I'm pretty sure that's the last one of my slides, right? I'll come back to that in a minute, that one there. What I wanted to do now is actually bring up the screen with all of these examples, okay? So I've gone ahead and I've pre-done a lot of these basic instructions or all of these basic things that we're going to cover off today. And the reason I pre-did it is because sometimes it gets hung up and it crashes for a second, and that's because there's, I don't know, tens of millions of people using this at one time. So what I'm going to do here is share my screen. I'll run through from top to bottom how I've used these and some of the instructions that have come through. So just share my screen again, this one here. Can I get a thumbs up if you guys can see that? Looks like a bunch of text on the screen. Awesome, I like it. See if I can zoom in a little bit because I know I'm half blind. Can't get rid of that. So this is the first one that we're going to cover off, which is just a basic email reply, okay? So all of you guys have emails that come in and day out that just don't stop, okay? There is a way that you can automate all of those responses to be pre-drafted and ready to send that you just need to review, which is a bit more advanced and out of scope of this call here. But this one here, what we can do is copy and paste the email that you get, put it into here and get a response that's 70% ready to go, okay? So what we've got in here is the prompt. You can see the amount of instructions that we've got in here is not just reply to this email, okay? I've given it some clear instructions. Act as an email marketing specialist. Write short, concise email reply back to the marketing email reply in English. make sure that the reply includes this, this, and this, all right? Blah, 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 placeholder for the recipient's name, yada, 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 act as if you work for, insert your company name, okay? Tell me what questions you need for me to answer this effectively. The email is, and then this is the semicolon here is where you stop and you put the reply after it, okay? So this is an email that I got through from a consultant who was just saying, hey, your building consent's been issued, blah, 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 blah. There wasn't any real action required from this, but it was kind of closest example I could find. She said, hey, attached is your docs, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I pasted that in there, just copy and paste it from Gmail. Now, you see the reply here, I don't need any additional questions from you. Now, the reason it said that is because up here I said, tell me what questions you need from me to answer this effectively, okay? Can anybody tell me why you think we need to put that in there? No? Nothing? Okay, all good. So a lot of stuff goes on in your head that you guys know about, right? A reply in here, make it human. Yeah, 100%. So we want to make it human. We also need to provide a lot more context to a machine than it has from one email, right? So they have no idea the history of the email chain that's come through. There's 6 or 7 exchanges before this one. So we need to make sure that if there's anything else that it needs to know to craft that reply, that it asks us accordingly. And you'll see that in a few examples that I show you after this, where we've got more in-depth examples, okay? So basically, it's gone ahead and it's written back an email here. I don't need any additional info. Based on this, I can compose an email, blah, blah, blah. And it's done that here, okay? Now, one of the things that I didn't like and I don't generally like about the way that it replies to people is it just repeats the same stuff that they've said back to them. Now, it's a culture thing. New Zealand and Australians are very direct and to the point. Americans, if you ever say, go to a restaurant and say, can I get a turkey sandwich? They'll say, oh, you want a turkey sandwich? Yes, I do. All right. So the way that it's replying to us is varying depending on and how you want it to respond. But here it's basically replied back to her with some of the stuff that she said, okay, and given an answer and stuff like that. Now, you can see how long-winded and stuff it is here, which is not a good email. Now, I've seen people replying to emails like this, and you can just tell that it's just full of fluff, right? So we want it to be, I went back to it and I said, be short and concise, don't repeat back what they have said. So the first prompt was quite in depth, still didn't get the right answer. So again, it's just about training, showing what you want to actually get from it, okay? So now it's written a much shorter email in here. Thanks for all the documentation. We'll make sure to follow the procedures. Blah, 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 council refund has been noted. We'll complete the required steps promptly, right? That's actually pretty damn good, okay? So we want to be short to the point in most of the stuff that we do. So it needs a little bit of guidance on that because it does tend to use filler words. Now, if you've got the professional version or the upgraded version of this, you can actually come into here and go to custom instructions, and you can tell it what information about you. Okay, so I'm Cameron from Contractor Scale, marketing agency, blah, blah, blah. And how do you want it to respond? Now, this one's super in depth, but you can put in here that you want it to respond in a short and concise manner, et cetera, et cetera. So that will then stop you having to do all of this on each individual chat, but you get the general idea, hopefully. So do you think that having something that can reply to an email just like this would be helpful? All right, show of hands or a 1 in the chat. Yeah, cool. I don't know about you, but I actively avoid email. It's probably my least favorite communication method. Facebook Messenger, text message, that kind of thing. I'm a millennial. I'll get back to you like in 2 minutes from there. Rob's just tested it, worked really well. Amazing, great work. Okay, so email, right? If you can chuck it in here, if you have a way to speed that process up, that's going to save a lot of time. A truckload of time, right? So first example there. Any questions on emails, anything like that? Feel free to unmute yourself or chuck it in the chat. No, all good, perfect. Number 2, right? Legal. Everybody's favorite thing because you get to pay somebody by the hour for a couple $100 an hour, if not more, okay? So there are limitations to this. And one of the things that needs to be mentioned or needs to be said is these tools can hallucinate, right? What I mean by that is they can go off on a tangent and forget about the context of what they're trying to do, and they can make stuff up, okay? So don't ever do anything and send it off blatantly like an email. Always check it, which seems like common sense. You can draft up legal documents in here, okay, based off whatever state regulations, etc., that you're in, but make sure you get it checked off by a lawyer, okay? If you provide examples, it does a much better job, okay? So if I scroll to the top here, this is the initial prompt that I used, okay? Now this one here is, sorry, just down here, sort of part of it. Basically, I said, here's a prompt about you're a legal expert. I want you to outline a contractor agreement and yada, yada, yada. And said, tailor this towards a building company, because this was more specifically talking about a software company, okay? So what it's come back with is an outline of what we wanted it to do, okay? Here's a construction contract agreement, right? Introduction, project description, price and payment terms, scheduling, changes, modification, permits, regulations, warranty, indemnification, insurance, disputes, termination, governing law, etc., 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 right? So this is just an overview, but I mean, off the top of your head, and how, like, what the level of detail on here, do you think that's pretty good for a 10-second typing into a box, right? Give me a 1 in the chat if you think that's pretty good, right? Joe Allen, can this be automated? Everything can be automated. I can automate anything. Awesome. Nice, guys. So the easiest thing to do would be give this an example, okay? But you can start from scratch in some instances. Now, what I've done now is gone, okay, same question as before on our previous topic was, what questions do you need from me to write this contract in full, okay? It's gone back and it said, okay, to write a legal, detailed and legally robust construction contract, I would need the following information, right? Parties involved, project description, contract price, payment terms, project schedule, etc., right? Very common sense things. Like, it has no idea who your company is, what the project is and things, but you can see it's outlining here everything you need to give it to create a legal document, right? Now, if you went back to a lawyer and said, hey, what do I need to give you to craft a construction contract? They go, I'll get back to you and I'll have to look it up and send it to you an email and everything else. And they'd send you a bill for $600 and if not more. And so this has given us a full outline of what we need. And just to continue on the conversation here, I've said, okay, the legal name is XYZ Construction LLC. Now write the first section of the contract, parties involved, okay? So what I've said there is, here's the answer it needed, right? Is legal names of who this is for, right? And probably should have put in here the client's name. But it's gone there and started writing out the first section of this legal agreement, okay? So now, if we really wanted to take this a step further, we go, now, right, section 2, right? It's going to do a bad job here because I haven't answered any of the background information required. But in real time here, what we've got is it's starting to talk about the project description, scope of work, location, etc. Now, obviously, this has got placeholders because it has no idea what so we're talking about specifics. But you can see how effective this is when you get an outline to start with of what you're trying to achieve, and then you just go through one by one by one by one to create something, okay? Now, again, reiterate, this is not legal advice, and this is not something you should use for gospel, but it can get you pretty close, and you can get somebody to sign off on it. Or, even better, is if I show you one tool at the top here, if I go to a new chat, there is a plugins section that you can work from here, okay? We can also use ChatGPT 4 as the paid version of this. Now you see this little attachment icon comes in the bottom left here. If we were to click this button and upload a file of a PDF and then say, look through my attached file and reshape this for X client or X job, or, you know, it might even be a tenant agreement. It might be a, you know, building lease that you're about to sign. If you give it the example, you can ask it and you can interact with the document and then get it to produce another document from that, okay? So there's a lot more detail that you can go into on this, but that's what this feature is here for. But from starting from scratch, you can go through this process here. Everybody get that one? Any questions? on that side of things and how you can do it for documents? Eli. Yeah, great advice, right? So Eli said, as a good check, I always make a list of 6 ways you could improve the above email, contract, etc. Please implement steps 2, 3, 4, and 6. Yeah, great. So providing an example, showing, hey, how can I improve this? Okay, now action those improvements, right? Another great way to do that, right? Cool. Is the doc upload just in version 4? Yes, it is. So there are a lot of tools out there that you can do lots of different things with, okay? So the first one is that basically does this is called like chat with PDF. And there's a tool in here somewhere, which, you know, realistically there's no point in showing you. The reason for that is the industry moves so fast that all of these tools that get created just become obsolete by ChatGPT making an upgrade, okay? So they came up with this tool, allowed you to upload a document and then chat with it, right? And about a month ago, they uploaded this or changed the feature here where you could upload files and interact with them. So really, you want to just have one tool in your arsenal, just stick with this and just start working with it. It won't be perfect, but it'll get you most of the way. Cool. Peter, can you upload the PDF details that you want to put in the legal doc? Yeah, 100%. So if you have, I mean, if we go back to the section up here with construction contract, all right? If we have the example of the PDF contract or the one that you've already got that's existing, you can say, you know, I'm not going to do it now because we're running out of time, but basically you can say in here, create a checklist or create a form that needs to be filled out for a new client that we can update a contract with. You can print it off, you can do what you like with it. And then if you want, you can upload that information with the document and say, edit this document, create a new one using the information provided, okay? Nice. We'll keep moving, guys. So next one here is around HR, hiring, job descriptions, scorecards, etc. Okay. Now, every business owner in the world deals with the same problem. I can't find good guys, right? Now, once you find them, you've got to keep them. And that's another story for another day. But what we can do here is outline specific things as an HR consultant or as someone in that sort of role, okay? Now, this is an example of a very basic way to approach it. You see how small the wording is here that I've used. I want you to act as a construction supervisor to create full job descriptions, scorecards, employee review documents. The role is carpenter, right? And you could sub this out for the role is foreman, the role is estimator, okay? Now, you should also put in there, obviously, my company is, we are located in, etc., the names of the people involved, right? But it's come back here and it's given me all of the above. Same thing. Came back with this within 2 minutes. So here's a job description for a carpenter, right? Key responsibilities, job summary, qualifications needed, scorecard for a carpenter, performance metrics, employee review document, okay? So the stuff you can go through with people in an employee review, right? Ratings, overall performance ratings. So it's pretty damn good, right? And I know from anyone that's worked with other places that have these kind of documents available, right? It's pretty close to what they would normally have on there. The only difference would be, okay, we have a truck allowance, or we have a phone allowance, or we do this, or the role is slightly different to be that. Again, working with it to make sure that it fits within whatever you guys are trying to do in your business, right? Can I get a hell yeah in the chat if you think that getting rid of your HR firm or not having to deal with that side of things is going to be a huge improvement or a huge time suck taken away? Yeah, awesome, Peter. Love it. So nobody else? No, here we go. All right, cool, awesome. Yeah. Again, HR, not the most attractive sort of thing in the world to hire for or to work with somebody on. It's definitely not my cup of tea. But again, if we can get that off our plate, if we can not have us do it, not have our office manager do it, but instead have it provided to us for critique, very, very easy to work with something that you have as an example, as a template, okay? Are we on the right track here, guys? Are we, you know, do you guys feel like you need to slow down, speed up at a good pace, right? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Cool, awesome. All right, we'll speed it up just a little bit, okay? Because I'm mindful of time that we're coming short, and I want to make sure we cover off everything that you guys want to cover off, right? So another example here. Now, this is using the paid version, right, with a tool called Web Pilot. Now, for this example here, I said, in New Zealand, what is the legal requirement for distance between joists on a 20 square meter deck, 1 meter from the ground, right? Ignore that, could be subbed out for any material, any regulation, any product, etc. And you can get very specific on this, okay? The reason I've used this section here for plugins and enabled Web Pilot is because this will go out and it will look up using Bing the latest information available, okay? So if the regulations change and you're searching up using the default method, which was updated 3 months ago, before this was like 2 years old, and the regulations change, that can obviously get you into trouble. So we've used the most up-to-date one for the first part. And then the second part as well is super helpful. So in New Zealand, legal requirements for this is blah, 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 right? Here's the recommendation, 400 to 600, sender to sender, but that can vary, yada, 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 right? Now, again, go back and forwards to it. It may be different in your area. You can prompt it. You guys are the experts. You can shape and mold this how you like. The second piece in here, or the third piece in here, is going to be super helpful. So, right, be specific. Just tell me the answer. Again, I want it to be short. I have a 10 meter wide deck. How many joists are required and what spacing? Okay, right. So here we go. It's given us an explanation, right? Size of the joist, etc. Load requirements of this. For this, we'll do this. Now, it gives us, okay, you need, 22.2 or 23 of them, right? This can help with a ton of things that I didn't want to stem into right now, but you can do really effectively, is it can help you with estimating. It can help you with understanding what you need to go through on a job to outline things that you might have missed, right? Hey, here's my schedule of works, or here is my inclusions on a job. Is there anything here that I should include, explain further, or that I've missed? Okay, so it can help you with understanding as like a checks and balance here, going, actually, maybe you've missed off this. Have you thought about that? Okay, kind of what Eli mentioned before about asking on ways for it to improve. Okay, so this is one example here. Now, the last piece of the same example is, how many times have you had like a specialty product from an architect or something that's spec'd in there that you don't normally work with, right? Show of hands. Yeah, cool. Now, again, basic example, but I've just said, okay, using Web Pilot, find 5 suppliers of joist hangers. Super simple. But what it's done is it's gone out and it's found the product that I've asked from 5 different people. Okay, so these guys here sell these guys, these guys, these guys, and it's given us a hyperlink or a reference point to go into, right? So if we click into that, that's going to take us straight through to this product here. Okay. Again, if you say that you're in Texas, if you say that you're in Australia, New Zealand, wherever, it'll find relevant references for that. But, helping source specific products that you don't normally buy, do you think that would be super helpful? Chuck a 1 in the chat if you think that this sort of thing would be helpful to help with procurement. Man, I know I've spent a lot of time looking for special items and materials and things like that. Yeah. Oh, Lance, chucking a 2. Come on, man. Hey, always following instructions. All good, all good. Nice. Cool, guys. So again, doesn't matter on you can shape this one as many ways as you want. It could be specific thicknesses of materials and things like that. I know that's a common thing. Don't ever post work in a Facebook group with your peers in there. They'll rip you to shreds for anything that you've done just slightly wrong. But you can do a great sort of thing on here with materials, regulations, all that sort of stuff. Marketing, next one. Okay, so this stuff is really good for marketing in general, getting that creative side done. Now, again, it will do a subpar job if you give it subpar instructions, okay? I just joined a workshop with a world-renowned copywriter who can write 1 page of copy of text, and it'll sell people into $10,000, $20,000 things just by reading a page, okay? Very, very good at what he does. This will never replicate him on its own, but if you give it enough instructions, it will. And the instructions that he had to where he got was about 3 pages long, okay? So again, really good instructions gets a really good result. This one here, I've said, I run a business called XYZ Construction. We offer home building extensions in Austin, Texas. Write a 200-word ad in this format, okay? And the format I've then given it is call out the audience, make an offer, including what would be normally covered on a consultation, point out common pain points, tell them how to take action, insert scarcity, okay? Very basic framework from how you would get it to write up an ad for you, okay? Now, yada, 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 right? Special offer, here's what it includes, right? This sort of stuff can be daunting, concerns about cost, project dragging on, etc. This is a really, really good example. Could be much better, but for something that's just been plugged in, and if you guys put this on Facebook as an ad, I guarantee you would get leads from it, okay? It's not perfect. It would need a little bit of reshaping. But again, having to not pay for someone to help you with marketing, having to speed up the process on testing. One of the things that we do a lot is we do a lot of testing, right? So if we have one ad and we put it out there, it'll work for a period of somewhere between a month, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. But if we can give it 5 variations, if we can give it 20 variations, if we can generate some AI images and things, which is another thing, it uses all that data to come up with the best ones. It can reduce your cost per lead and get you better qualified people, okay? So that's the first one that came through. And I've also just said to improve it a little bit. Write another one, be more specific on steps of filling in a Facebook lead form by clicking the button below, right? So what it's done here is just inserted this section here, made it a little bit more specific, okay? I can say, right, another example. And we can see what it does. So it'll go through and it'll do another example in a very similar format, a very similar way, and it'll do it in real time. So you can see how fast this thing is. I could never write that fast, right? Nobody I know can type that fast, but just going through that process is really, really quick, right? And again, going back and forwards, improving it on simple things is going to be really effective, okay? Hands up if you think you could effectively write an ad from chucking that into a tool like this, right? Yeah, big time. I know from teaching marketing over the last 6 or 8 years to builders, they basically sat there and go, this is all great, but what the hell do I write? There we go, right? Problem solved. I used to give templates and SOPs and all that kind of stuff, right? That stuff's no longer required because it would then still have to be tailored to your business. If you give it good instructions, they can tailor it at the same token and it can write these ads for you, okay? Awesome. Who's going to go out, make some money after this? Get some leads, put some ads up. Peter's going to do it. Grant's doing it. Awesome, guys. Cool. This next one here, one of my favorite things is my background, right, being engineering. My tradesman once told me this, it stuck with me ever since, was always take the lazy approach, right? And it stuck with me ever since because it was quite a polarizing statement, but it did make me think about how can I, do this more effectively rather than just brute forcing it. At the time, there was other people in the team that would just go straight in there and just start getting involved, and they'd end up taking 4 times the amount of time because they didn't think about the easiest way to do it. So having systems and processes in your business is a way to streamline the process, okay? B, make sure nothing's missed. And C, removing you from the process, right? If you have clear instructions on how to do something, your business should get to the level, if you do this right, of having systems and processes, basically like a McDonald's manual on how to do anything in the business, right? So that you can step back, put anybody in place. It should be able to be done by someone who's 10 years old, right? So for this one here, I've said that I'm a home building business that wants to help creating systems and checklists for my business operations and remove myself from the day-to-day. Give me an overview of the process for invoicing clients, right? Insert any topic that you want to do here. It could be a job starting checklist. It could be how to, sign off variations. Could be anything along those lines. For this one, we've gone with invoicing. Okay, so it has now gone through and give us an overview of that process. Okay, assessment of current process, designing the system, pre-check invoicing process. Now, this is not helpful by itself, right? This is just an overview of the process. So now what we want to do is we want to give it another prompt or another follow-up and say, right, let's just start from here. Pre-invoicing checklist. Right, and how good is this? That it's gone confirm completion of milestones or project, right? All of this stuff is very specific on if you went and asked a local business coach, help me write some SOPs for what we do. They'd say, sure, yeah, of course. Like, what's the normal process? And they have to go through that fact-finding mission. This thing is already understood that you guys work on milestones, okay? Ensure that all expenses are accounted for, etc. Like the terminology, the understanding of the market is really, really impressive, okay? So if we go down here to the one that I followed up, create an SOP for the pre-invoicing checklist, which included this one, and this one. I basically copy and pasted the first step from above, okay? Here's an SOP for the pre-invoicing checklist, right? Purpose is this, the scope is this. Responsibilities included are here. Your project managers are responsible for confirming project milestones and completion. Pretty bang on. Accounting staff are responsible for ensuring all expenses are accounted for. Admin staff are responsible for varying client details, right? Now, if this is one person, that's fine. It doesn't matter. But you've got it outlined by sort of different people in the team who are responsible for each piece. Procedure, step 1, right? Step 2, sub steps. So if you actually read through this and checked it off, it would be pretty damn close as to what you need, right? If someone wanted to sit here for a week on end and go from start to finish through all of the SOPs and all the processes that you guys work with, that could be done, and it could be sold as a franchise model for, you know, running a building company. Are any of you guys involved in a franchise? Just checking who's on the line here. I don't think there's anyone specific, but franchises effectively offer you two things: a brand and marketing, and some simple processes to follow, maybe backed up by software, all right? And they say, thanks very much, I'll take 6% of the cut. Now, I believe that that model is going to be very much dead in the future, because things like this, if people can come into here and get the answer that they're looking for, can create their own processes, can do their marketing, etc., why give away 6%? Okay, so there's a lot of things with AI, with ChatGPT, etc., that are talking about replacing jobs, replacing, you know, certain industries. Maybe, maybe not, but you might as well be at the forefront rather than lagging behind. I run a marketing agency. I'm in a group of 290 odd other marketing agencies. The ones who are not effectively using systems and processes and ChatGPT and AI have huge teams, which include huge overheads, lots of complexity, lots of stuff ups. Okay. I have a team of 5. It doesn't mean that I can get away with having no people, but people in the same sort of size of where I'm at have probably twice the amount of staff. Okay. For me, I'd rather work with talented people, right? That's a given, but it's much easier to work with 5 people than it is with 10 people. Okay. And managing that amount of people and all that sort of stuff. So if you can go through this process, if you can standardize what you do, if you can have SOPs and processes to follow, it's going to save you a bunch of time, lots of stuff ups avoided. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if you want to exit the business, and you have none of this in place, you are the business. Okay. So you can't sell it. If you have all of this documented and in a manual or in a way that people can reference from, you can basically get bought out and someone can walk in and take over the business. Right. Hands up if you think that's helpful. Awesome ones in the chat. I like it. Awesome. Nice, guys. Any follow-up questions on that? Again, chuck them in the chat. I'm going to keep rolling. Thanks for the ones. Thanks for the ones. Appreciate it. Going to have some really broken one buttons on the keyboards here. I like it. Right. Next one here, health and safety. Again, there is tools and softwares available that can help you with this, right? And a lot of the benefit that you get from that is in the data, is in the system and the software itself. But as a basic version, there is the small to medium size business, more of the small business side, that normally would work with an HR consultant who would normally buy templated stuff. Okay. And that's fine. And you can do that. But if you can combine stuff like this to work with HR related inquiries, you know, let's say for this example, I was talking about a toolbox meeting. Okay. So you're a health and safety professional for an HR firm dealing with SME home builders and remodelers. Outline a toolbox meeting agenda, right? Perfect. Here is the framework. Awesome. Like pretty close. Okay. Now gives you additional tips on the back end of that. That's great. How about a template form for a near miss? Okay. Super important. I'm going to make sure the stuff's documented. Grab this. Okay, copy that, doc.new, creates a Google Doc for you, paste it in, print it off, right? How good is that? Didn't charge us anything to do the privilege. Yes, it does need to be checked off and reviewed and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. Again, let's go with another number. Let's go with like a 2, right? Put a 2 in the chat if you are working with an HR firm or working with anyone and that kind of helps you in that supported area. Might be a mix here because I got a few different people in different sort of situations here. No twos, no twos. Everyone's doing their own HR. Good on you guys, right? Awesome. Let's take that off your plate, right? It might only be once a month that you deal with this kind of stuff. Maybe you avoid it. Maybe you get involved. I'm not quite sure. But let's just start removing you from that process by using something like this, okay? Anybody else have an example of something else that they have done in HR or needed help with HR? Nobody chucks one in. I've got an example, but does anybody want to unmute? You guys had any HR issues? Have you got any things that you needed help with on the HR front? No? Yes? No? Okay, that's right. We'll keep going. Disputes. Perfect. That's exactly what I was after. Okay. Now, one that's sort of similar to that, right? I was speaking to someone the other day. Unfortunately, they can't take on any more work because they've got 3 people that one of them's broken a spine, one of them has broke like something to their arm, and the other one's just being a lazy shit who doesn't want to work, and obviously they need to be managed out. So that's one thing that you can obviously get advice on. But for the example of here, I have a team member called Tim. He is a pain in the ass, right? Hands up, you agree with that? Yeah, pain in the ass, awesome. So Tim is showing up to work late, and his quality of finish is not good. Whoops. Right. Help me with a performance management plan. Let's see what it comes up with. Yeah, I've got the recording of this. I'll make sure I share it after this. I did the last webinar a couple months ago. I forgot to hit record, so that was a fail, but we got this one. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Dealing with an underperforming employee like Tim requires a structured approach to address his punctuality and the quality of his work. Sorry, Tim, but you're not cutting the mustard. Okay, performance management, here's the plan. Right, identify the issue, document it, set up a meeting, right? Make sure he's got someone to help him with that, etc. Conduct the meeting, here's the agenda, right? Again, document it, give him support, follow up and review, right? Pretty damn impressive for one sentence, okay? So super helpful. You can shape it whatever you need on any topic. You can go down that route. Again, just keep going. One thing that I probably missed from the initial start of this workshop is you'll see that I've got these on different chats on the left-hand side, okay? If you have a chat about health and safety, and then you have a follow-up question about write me social media posts, it's going to get highly confused as to what it's trying to achieve and what the end goal is for this whole thing, okay? So when you have a specific topic, and you can come back to these later on, okay? So if you have another email you want to reply to, you can do that here, or you can start a new one. But if you basically you create a new chat for every topic that you have, it'll remain with good context along that chat, okay? Cool. Right, last one here. This one here is social media posts, essentially, right? So you remember the slide that I showed you earlier on that said, write me social media posts versus that very long detailed one. And this was a good chat because it did show me one that failed as well. So here's the detailed prompt, okay? Write me 30 local SEO optimized social media posts for the following business, blah, 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 blah. All of this detail, right? So we gave it context on who we are, what we do, and what location we're in as well, right? Now, it starts off post number 1, right? Here's the post, here's the hashtags, here's the suggested image, right? How good is that? Anybody think they'll be able to do social media after this? I hope so. Here we go. Grant's going to be a social media whiz after this. I like it. Cool. All right. Post number 2, post number 3. Now, here's where it got tricky, is it stopped basically, and then it jumped on to post 30. So I was like, okay, this is kind of broken. What happened here? Now, what can happen is if you try to get something really, really, really long done in one go, it can get confused. So I went back a step and I said, okay, you missed 4 to 29. Create a table outline, or create an outline basically of all of them, okay? So that way it's got 4, 5, 6, 7, etc., all of the way through here. And then now that we've got this table on the different topics, we can now say, okay, right, number 4, okay? and it'll then reference the table or reference the outline that it should be working from. So you want to work in incremental steps, try and work from a high level down, create an outline, work from the top down that outline. If you want more information, then expand upon it, etc. But it does a pretty good job here. It talks about Ohio, talks about the company name, etc. And yeah, like again, if this is not something that you do, you just need to give it more insight from. So one of the things could be, hey, we actually don't do energy efficiency, and it will understand that and it will rewrite it for you. Okay, so all in context, all tying that together. Really, really effective way of getting social media posts done. Right. So that's most of the agenda that we had covered off. Right. Can I get a 1 in the chat if you think that at least one of those things should save you 5 hours a week? Okay. Awesome. Good to see some ones coming in. Is there any questions that you have top of mind that you wanted to cover off? We've got a few more minutes here, just while I load something else up. I want you guys to think about, A, is there a question that you have about any of this? Or B, what's the direct next thing you're going to be doing after implementing some of this AI stuff? Okay. Just give you 2 minutes to do that. Either a question that you have for me, or the second thing is writing what the next thing is that you're going to be doing with AI. Load this up. Cool. Got some action items happening here. I want full involvement. Come on, guys. Next steps or questions that you have, chuck it in the chat box. Are we calling some people up? All right, I like it. I like it. Awesome. Keep them coming. All right, guys. Now, one of the things that was mentioned earlier was, can I automate this? Okay, and I'll get to the rest of these questions in just a second. All right. Now, a few of you guys have already kind of seen what we've been doing with the marketing side of things, and that's a kind of separate conversation. One of the things that we just started to tie into this, okay, so reason this stemmed is we've had a few people that we're getting leads for, okay, and being a builder, typically working as not a one-man band, but working as the main guy doing all the hats, right? Talking about all that stuff we've just talked about, HR, invoicing, etc. A lot of those leads would get replied to or get phone call 2, 3, 4 days later. If you've ever inquired for something online and somebody's called you 3 or 4 days later, what do you think the chances are that you care anymore about what they're talking about? Pretty slim, right? So Harvard Business School did a big study on lead response management. Okay, there was two big factors that came into it. The first one is getting a response within the first 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, if you've ever tried to pick up the phone and call somebody about their project and they've either not picked up the phone or they've said, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, not interested anymore. I'm pretty sure everybody's had that. Okay, one of the main reasons can be is because people think they're busy. We live in a very fast-moving age at the moment. You need speed to lead to get to those people now, to talk to them, okay? And secondly, you need to follow people up over time so that when they're ready, they come back to you, okay? So being that you are busy during the day, right, and nighttime, obviously not picking up the phone or anything like that at nighttime, there needed to be a way for us to automate some of that process of getting back to people, okay? So if we, if I just share my screen in just a second here, find the right button. Right, this one, cool. So we've just rolled out this big change to one of the things that we've been doing. Okay, so this is a CRM system that we use for the front end of sales and marketing. right? Doesn't interfere or overlap with Builder Trend, with Co-Constructor, or anything like that. This is strictly on the front end. Helps you manage your deals and all that kind of stuff, have conversations with people in the right place. But that does two really cool things now. The first thing is we can train it on your business, right? So this is integrating AI into conversations so that you no longer have to follow up your own leads with speed, okay? So if I jump on here and I just grab my website, see my beautiful face on there, right? And I paste that into here. What this is going to do is this is going to go and scrape the website that we have, okay? And some of the things on here, we talk about what we do, who we work with, the services we offer, right? Right, about us, goal, why choosing us, some testimonials, all that kind of stuff, the process. Now, still training, right? So it's scraped the page. It's now training the bot on what to respond with people. Okay, now what this can do is we can now enable this on either suggestive mode, so it will provide us the response, which is good for when you're just working it out and figuring it out, or we can set it to full autopilot so that it will respond to people, okay? Now, the biggest thing you're going to see is responding to people on SMS or instant messenger, like Facebook Messenger, is going to speed up your speed to lead process, going to get you a really, really good result. And it can go back and forwards and have a great conversation with people, okay? So right now, it's got SMS, Instagram, Facebook, Google business page, live chat on your website, for example, okay? And we need to put this in here. I can spell. All right, so we're going to save those settings there. So what this is currently saying to us is that it's going to support SMS, Instagram, Facebook messages. Now, if somebody sends through an inquiry, we can send out automatic messages to people based off what they've put in, okay? And this is where we go through and we train it on some certain questions and answers. But I wanted to show you one of the examples we've been working with, okay? And I'll just make this a bit bigger so that you can actually see it. This was a lead that we're testing on, okay? Or an account we're testing on and going back and forwards about the project. So somebody fills out a web form about whatever, doesn't really matter. We send them a message. Hey, Cam, just saw your details come through for more information. Is this the right number? They respond with yes, okay? It then sends another message saying, thanks for reaching out. Can you tell me a bit more about your project, right? So, oh, sheesh, I just submitted that form. This person actually gives a shit about me. That's awesome. I feel appreciated, okay? My daughter's going to primary school next year, okay? We've enrolled her in a school and we said, can we come and, do a tour and all that kind of stuff? We sent off the email 2 weeks ago. We sent a follow-up email last week. Nobody's replied to us. How do you think we feel about that business or about that organization? Pretty poor, right? Okay. If they responded to us very quickly and answered some of the questions that we're after, you can have a lot more faith in us being proactive, being professional. So then said, right, looking to move some walls, open up the house, renovate the bathroom. Cool. Sure. When are you looking to start this project? In about a month, right? Great. What budget do you have to complete this project, right? We can have that in there or not. Well, we set aside 50K. Okay, that's great. When would you be free to talk to one of our team Monday to Friday, 9 to 5? How's Tuesday at 2 p.m.? Awesome. We've now got an appointment which has talked to the system and looked up your Google Calendar on when you are actually available, okay, to basically understand, like, when should we book in this meeting, right? So now they've booked a meeting for Tuesday at 2 o'clock. All you have to do is pick up the phone at Tuesday at 2 o'clock, speak to them about their project. Again, if they're a good fit, we should be able to qualify them on the front end here. But if they're a good fit, they'll come into your calendar and you can have that meeting with them. And they also will turn up or have that meeting because you've gone through and you've responded to them professionally, etc. So don't know if you guys have ever worked with any of this stuff. Super powerful. The main thing that it's going to do is increase the amount of responses that you get from people. You're no longer going to hear from people, I don't know what you're talking about. I just submitted a form on Facebook, etc. Okay. And it's going to increase the amount of appointments you get. Okay. And those appointments will turn into site meetings. Those site meetings turn into budgets, which ultimately turn into contracts. Okay. So if we don't get this first piece done right at the start, you're not going to get the same opportunities on the back end. But Joe, I know you talked about automation. Would that be helpful if there's a way to follow up your leads automatically? Yeah, 100%. Right. Now, a lot more of this is sort of in depth, can be talked about at a different time, but just want to run through some of the responses we've got in here, make sure we covered off everything, make sure there's no questions, and we can wrap this up. But right, Rob, next action for him is going to be add the app to the phone. Yeah, 100%. A lot of time at night where I just have a thought that comes to mind that I go, oh, sheesh, I've got to do this tomorrow, I've got to plan that or whatever. And I chuck it in just on the app. The app talks to the desktop version, and you can have something you can pick up on, have your ideas actioned straight away. Right? Eli mentioned about how to create a library. Yeah, awesome. So there's some tools that you can do that with. The first one that you can do is just literally copy and paste things that are in your, in a spreadsheet or whatever that you've worked with. Okay. We have actually put together our own white labeled version of ChatGPT. Okay. It just has very similar functionality and all that. But we've got this button here for a prompt library. Okay. No, I'm not logged in, so it hasn't saved anything. But what this can do is save some of your prompts in there, okay? So that when you want to quickly action something, you can click the button and just fill in the context for it. So there's some different tools and things that you can use, right? To store those prompts in to speed up the process. Make sense? Awesome. Nice one. Grant, trying to get AI to write some estimating recipes. I like it. That's great. So obviously coming up with different things to estimate for projects. I mean, the second word, recipes, you can also get it to do recipes, right? I started doing the gym stuff a while back, and I said, I'm this weight, I'm extremely attractive, and I want to stay that way, right? Write me out a meal plan for the next month. And it did that, okay? And so it can help you with all sorts of different things. It doesn't have to be business related. There's a case overseas where some lady went to 3 or 4 different specialist doctors, okay, about her son's medical condition. She chucked it into ChatGPT, and it gave her an answer to something, and they went through that process, and her son was actually, it solved the problem medically. So now that's, again, not, legal advice or anything like that. Don't go and start talking about doing an operation on your knee or something, but it can help in so many different ways that aren't business related too. Cool. Awesome. How can we ensure that we rise above all the chatter if AI has been used so much? Yeah. So one of the big things that will never be replaced, okay, is a lot of people talk about robots, about replacing us in all these different ways, shapes, and forms. We're doing social media posts. We've got these automated text messages that can potentially go back and forwards. You never know if you're really talking to a real person. But a lot of people, when they talk about interacting and what the sort of key parts of humanity are, is about having a soul, right? Okay. Another word for having a soul is having a brand. So there are certain characteristics and ways that you operate and communicate and things like that. Your life experiences come together. The way that you interact with people will always be very, very different in person. That is very, very hard to imitate and replace. So really important that you have a lot more of your personality in your marketing. Okay, showcase yourself, showcase your background. If you talk about being part of the fishing club and some client wants to come and build a house and they're into fishing, what a great conversation starter to work from if they've read that on your website. So trying to have a lot more personality in there is really helpful to rise above the AI stuff. Don't know if that's what exactly you were after, but otherwise there is a ton of other, stuff. There's news sites, etc. Keeping up with this day in and day out can be very overwhelming. But just stick with the basics and just stick with what's useful. Joe's going to bookmark for practice. I like it. Thomas is going to practice, right? Lisa, we have to pay for ChatGPT 4. Yep. So the version that you get if you log into chat.openai.com, I think it is. That is the 3.5 model, okay, which still works really, really well. But the version 4 is a smarter model, is a little bit more expensive, and so they've just limited it to paid clients or to paid customers. It's about $20 or so a month US, which is $30 or $40, whatever. So well worth the upgrade if that's what you want to do. It's a lot smarter, gives a lot better responses. Cool. Grants can use it for marketing plans. Awesome. Social media posts, just starting to support with Contractor scale, HR support for reviews, SOPs. Awesome. Great one, Lance. It's going to be awesome for you. Is there a way with ChatGPT that you can link them to a document so that it can alter the document or the text in ChatGPT that you would normally copy and paste? Okay, I'll show you one more example here, guys, because this is what I mentioned about the interacting with documents. And then I'm pretty sure we're good unless there's any more questions. So opened up a brand new chat here. One of the things that I just did before this is resent out the registration link because that wasn't working. But if I put this spreadsheet into here, this is a template that Zoom gives you on how to format the document, right? You can get it to change this around, okay? So right now the spreadsheet has 3 rows in it, which says email, first name, last name, okay? This is a webinar registration CSV. Please add a 4th column and provide me the file. Column with the domain URL from email, just to give it some kind of context and provide me the file. Okay, this is analyzing the file. Okay, it'll just take a minute. You can see what it's doing in the back end is all of this funky code stuff, which you obviously don't have to pay attention to. Now, if it does it fast enough, we'll show you the result. But basically what this will do is take any instructions that you give it, work from the file that you've given it, and provide you the file of the output, okay? So this is the data, right? It had test 1 at Zoom, first name, last name. Theoretically, what it should do is add a 4th column with @zoom.com, okay? Don't know if that's going to be the case, but it can do a lot of data analysis as well. You can go through, give it a profit and loss. You can give it a budgeting spreadsheet. You can give it some other things like that, tell it to break down, give you insights as to ratios or to certain things. Very, very smart in what it does, okay? And there we go. Let me share the right screen so you can actually see it. This is the document that I've just downloaded. The original document had 3 columns. It's now downloaded it and it's added this 4th column in here, which has got the domain URL from here @zoom.com. Okay. If it was at, xyzconstruction.com, it would have put that in there. So you can manipulate documents and things that way as well. Get insight, data analysts sort of stuff. Very, very cool in the way that it can do it. Cool. Last one in here, you mean adding ChatGPT app to your phone? Yeah, Lance. So you just go to your app store, Google or Apple iTunes, you can download ChatGPT. It's just an app on your phone. It does the exact same thing. It'll open up a new chat just like that, where you can start doing the same process from your mobile. Awesome. Nice one, guys. Well, hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully it was insightful as some of the stuff you can do. Love to hear some follow-up comments in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself. Was that helpful? Was it not helpful? Love to get some feedback on that. It's very easy to take complex things and kind of push it over people's head, but hopefully there was some actionable topics that we covered off today that you guys can use, right? Awesome. No worries, Grant. All good. Awesome, guys. Thanks very much for tuning in. Hopefully that was helpful. Give us a shout out if you have any follow-up questions, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks, guys. Talk soon.
Thanks, Cam.
No worries, Peter. Awesome, man. Just saw your details come through as well, man. Happy to chat at any point.
Yeah, probably. I think we've got a time booked, just to sort of see how you can maybe help us move forward a little bit.
Yeah,
it'd be good.
No worries, man. All good.
Thank you.
No worries, Rob. I'll give you a phone call very shortly, mate.
I don't help Rob. He's just down the road from me.
Come on, mate. We can work together.